All right, today we're going to look at the SUMIFS, COUNTIF, if, and ifs functions. Let's start off with the SUMIF. What do we want to do? We want to calculate the donations collected per grade. So I have my students, I have their grades, and I have how much each one collected in donations. So you go to where you want to insert your formula. I'm going to put mine right here next to it over there. The easiest way to get to the SUMIF function, if you're not familiar with it, is to come up to your insert functions, type in SUMIF, and hit enter, and it'll bring up the different options that you have available. I'm going to go with the first one, select SUMIF, and say OK. First thing is your range, right? Your range for your criteria. So in this case, we want to see how many donations were calculated by the grade 10s. So my range is my grades. I want to go look at my grade 10s. All right. For my criteria, I have different options available. I can type in 10 if I want to, or I can use a cell reference. So I can go click on a 10 over there, and then my sum range. So if it finds a 10 in my range, B4 to B10, then it must add up the corresponding donations, which is in C4 to C10. You see on the left-hand side, it's looking at all those numbers over there. It's looking for the 10, and it's looking at all the donations over there. It comes back with an answer of 45. We can say, okay. Again, let's do that again. Come back up to the insert function. Now it's already at the top over there, SUMIF, because I used it most recently. Click on OK. Choose my range, grade 10s. My criteria, this time I'll type in 11. My sum, go look at my donations. You can see over there, showing me 32, and at the bottom, my formula result, 32. And one more time, we can do that for our grade 12s. Let's do this the other way around. So we equals SUMIF. Go and double click on it. It's going to tell you range, semicolon, my criteria. So I can choose what I want. I can either click on the cell for a reference, or I can type the number in. So let's go with 12, semicolon, and then my sum range. And select that and close it off. And there we go. If you ever need to come back and edit a formula, simply click on the cell with the formula in, come back to your insert function, and it'll bring it back up, and you can do any changes that you need to do over there. You can also go and type your grades out in sequential order, or in the same order that they're shown on the left hand side, and use this as a reference over here, which would be preferable if you have a lot of different variations. It'll just make it a lot quicker, making use of the autofill function afterwards. So again, I'm just going to come up to here. We go with SUMIF, open it up. I'm going to select my range, my criteria. This time I'm going to make use of this 10 over here, the cell reference. The cell range, sum range, select that one, and say okay. Now I can just autofill them. You'll see over here, F3, it's my 10. F4, automatically selected my 11. F5, it's automatically selected my 12. All right, so if this changes for any reason, let's change this to a 10. Okay, you'll see that it's changing over there. Why is it changing over there like that? But yeah, it will change it accordingly using the range. One thing that you might want to look at, that you definitely want to look at, when you're making use of it in this form over here, you'll see that the first one is completely right. The second one is missing the top section over there. And the third one is missing the top two over there because they're moving down with it. So what you need to do, so we'll get rid of those two. we'll come back to the first one, is we need to make these absolute cell references. So using F4, turn it into an absolute cell reference. So that's the $ before the letter and $ before the number. The same with your B10. All right. Come on. Why are you doing this to me? So why is it B10? There we go. All right. And then the same with my donations. I need to turn those into absolute cell references as well. And we do that so that as we're moving down the line, that'll keep referring to these. You want to leave F3 as a relative cell reference so that it will go down to F4 and F5. Okay, hit enter, come back up, autofill it, and you'll see that it's now always referring to B4 to B10 and C4 to C10. All right, so now let's go change 12 back to 10. And there we go, I've got my 45 over there. All right, that is the SUMIF function. So there's 3 different variations that you can use. You can also make use of making this an absolute cell reference if you want to, if you're referring to a specific cell. So if that cell changes, then your formula will change. Not always the best option, so it might be best if you just keep that as a standard function over there. All right. Then there's the option to add in a number as well. So we'll just say 10, like that. Or you can have your numbers on the side of here for your criteria. But remember that if you're going to make use of that and you're going down, turn the others into absolute cell references, so that'll always refer to that range and that range over there. Okay. Moving on to SUMIFS. Now, the big difference between the SUMIF and SUMIFS is the SUMIF allows you for one argument, right? You give the criteria range or your range, your criteria, and the sum range. Your SUMIFS has extra functionalities with it. So let's go and have a look at that. Select where you want it to be. Let's go to insert. Let's type in SUMIFS. Select it and open it up. All right, now we're going to put in the sum range first, whereas last time we put in the sum range at the end. So we wanted to calculate the donations. All right, my first criteria range, I want to go look at the grades and specific grades with specific classes, for instance. All right, so criteria range 1, I'm going to go look at my grades. What grade am I looking for? I'm looking for my 10s. All right, again, I can use a cell reference or I can just type in the amount. And then you'll see that it'll automatically open up a criteria range 2. So now I want to go look at the classes. Okay, and I want to go look at everybody. Sorry, forgot to tab over there. Criteria range 2. I want to go look at the classes. And I want to go look at everybody that is in the A class. So I'm going to type in A and tab. So there I can see it's 27 over there. All right, and at the bottom the same. And I can add in more criteria ranges if I want going down. We go all the way down to the bottom. You can see you can add up to 127 criteria with their ranges. But we're just going to do those 2 over there. Click OK, and that's your formula done. Next one, again, we're going to look at our grade 11s, and we're going to look at the A class again. So again, I'm going to come up, insert, select my SUMIFS, just to demonstrate again. First, my sum range, that's my donations. Then my criteria range, my classes. My criteria, this time I'm going to select a cell reference for my 11s. And again, you can do the same as what you did with the SUMIF. You can have your 10, 11, and 12 at the end. Just remember to make these ranges all these ranges absolute cell references. Going to my criteria range 2, we're going to select our class, and what is our criteria? We're going to make it an A, and tab 32, there we go, and okay. All right, and you can choose another one as well if you want. So let's go with grade 12s and class B. Let's do the direct way. So equals SUMIFS. Double click on it because it helps you, and it tells you there set sum range. You'll see that that's highlighted, okay, or made bold. So sum range, semicolon. Depending on where you are and how your device is set up, you might use the comma. In my case, I'm using semicolons. Then you'll see that it'll automatically go to criteria range 1. So I'm going to select criteria range 1. I'm going to go semicolon. It moves on to the next one. What is my criteria? You'll see that as I'm typing in here, it's typing in there as well. So I want that to be my grade 12s. Semicolon. Add in my next range. That's my classes. Semicolon. What is my criteria for that? Well, it has to be my B class over there. Semicolon. And I can carry on like that, but I don't need to carry on, so I'm going to take away the semicolon and I'm just going to close it off. Right, so I'm looking at D4 to D10 for my sum range. My first criteria range is going to be B4 to B10, and I'm going to be looking for the 12s inside there. Then my next criteria range is C4 to C10 under my class. I'm going to be looking for my B classes, and enter. Okay, where did I go wrong over here? Let's open up my insert function. Let's see what I did wrong over here. Okay, why is it not giving that to me? Okay. I did not put this in quotation marks. So that is why it didn't work. Letters always need to get put in quotation marks, double quotation marks. And there we go. Now it's bringing up my formula for me at the bottom over there. So be careful when typing this in. Okay. If you forget one little thing, it's going to throw out an error. And the quickest and easiest way to come back and double check your formula is to make use of the insert function. Make sure that everything's right. As you saw, it'll throw out an error if there is one. Once everything's correct, it'll actually give you a proper formula result at the end over there. And okay, so there we go. That is your SUMIFS. Again, what we were trying to do there, we were trying to calculate the donations collected per grade and per class. All right. Moving on to COUNTIF. So we want to count if range equals a certain criteria. Again, we've got our grade 10s, 11s, and 12s. And we want to count how many cells there are if it equals this on the left hand side over here. Again, let's come to our cell. Let's go to our insert function. You can type in COUNTIF if you don't have it there already. If it's in your list, you can just simply come and click on it. Click OK. Right, select your range. Okay, so I'm going to select my range over here. Okay. Then I'm going to select my criteria. Well, I'm looking for my 10s. And there we go. So there's how many 10s there are over there. Let me just double check my other formula over here. Before, yeah. There we go. So you can do it like that. And that basically just tells you how many 10s there are. The same with your 11s. So let's use that insert function one more time. So the COUNTIF. Select your range. Now, as you can see, I've only got one range that I can use. Even though I have my donations over there, I can only make use of this one. Put in my criteria, 11, and okay. If I was looking for a specific number over here, so let's do this to the side. And again, just use the COUNTIF. Let's say we want to go look for the 15s. How many donations of 15? Then I will go to the donations. and I will type in the 15 over there, and that should bring up 2. And there we go. All right. So you've only got access to one range with the sum if. Let's do it the long way around. So count if. And again, it's showing you there range. And it's guiding you through that. Semicolon. What is your criteria? We're looking for the 12s. And there we go. Okay. So that's count if range equals a certain criteria. Again, with the sum, just like with the sum ifs, count ifs allows for multiple criteria. All right, so we can have a look at our grade and our class. So select where you want to insert the formula. Let's go up to the top. Type in count ifs if you want. At the top over there, hit enter, or if it's in your list, select it, click OK. So criteria range 1. So first I'm going to go look at my grade 10s. Then I'm going to look at my criteria. I'm looking for my 10s. Then my criteria range 2. I'm going to select my class, and I want everyone in class A. Now, when you're working with the dialog box like this, okay, when you're first starting off, you can just type in the A. You'll see as soon as I hit tab, it'll put it into double quotation marks for you. If it doesn't, just go and type in the double quotation marks before and after your text. Do I have a third range? No, I don't at the moment. And you look at everything on the left, on the right hand side over here. You can see that it's giving me an answer of 2. My formula result is 2. And we say OK. Let's do that one more time for the grade 11s. Function, count Fs. Range 1 is my grade with my 11s. Range 2 is my class. And again, I'm looking for my A class. Tab. And you can see my result at the bottom over there. And close it off. Let's go one more time, doing the long way around. So count Fs. Right, and it's going to guide you through there again. So criteria 1, semicolon, what I want, 10, or I can select a cell reference, B4, semicolon, criteria 2, range, this is my classes, semicolon, and the sum I'm looking for my B class. So quotation marks, double quotation marks, B, close them off, then close off your formula and enter. Okay. Again, you can do the grades if you want to. So we'll come over here. We'll go grade 10, 11, and 12. And we'll redo these formulas over here. So let's go up to the top. Let's open it up over there. And just do it the easy way around. Now criteria 1 is now going to be over here. Instead of typing 10 or selecting a 10 from this range, I'm going to type in 10. Criteria 2 is class A. Okay, and I'm going to just type in the A over here. You can also put in AB if you want, and select from there and say OK. Then we can autofill. Again, your first one is correct. Your second one is incorrect because this is moved down relative to this moving down. Okay, and this one is also incorrect because of 2 reasons. One is moved 2 down, and secondly, it's got the A inside there instead of the B, which is another reason why we make use of the cell references instead of typing in the things directly like that. Because if something were to change, let's say I suddenly wanted, if it was originally A and I changed it to class B, I would have to come back to my function and go and change that to B. But if you're not familiar with the function, you did not create it yourself, you might not know to do that. So let's go and fix this up quickly. So let's go and put in your class. And we put in A, and we put in B, and let's go and fix these functions up. Right, so first things first, let's just get rid of the others. Come back up to this one, open my inserts function, and let's go change criteria to first. Let's delete that, and let's choose the cell reference. Right. But remember that this was moving down and this was moving down. Okay. So we need to make those absolute cell references. So we go to the B4 using F4, turn that to an absolute cell reference. B10, change that to an absolute cell reference. C4, the same, and C10, the same. So even as the formula moves down, it will always refer to those over there. Criteria 2. This is handy if it's going to be moving down, A, B, C, D, and things like that. All right. So I'm not going to make this an absolute cell reference at the moment, unless I wanted all of them to be class A. So we'll go and make that an absolute cell reference over there. And we will correct our request over here to our class A. So if they're all class A, then that type of formula will work with the absolute cell reference for the A over there. Otherwise, you'll have to go and manually go and change this last section, this last criteria. All right, so let's go and autofill, and let's double check. Yes, so this is moving down relative. As you can see, it's not an absolute cell reference. And then check this one. You'll see that that's moving down relative, but the others are staying exactly as is. And then I could do the same for my grades and my class B over there if I wanted to. Right, so that's your COUNTIF, COUNTIFs, SUMIF, SUMIFS. So the big difference between the if and the ifs, the if gives you one option, one criteria that you can work with. The ifs give you multiple criteria that you can work with. Moving on to the if function itself. All right, the if function, I have my students, I have their grades, their marks, and then I have a comment that I want to add into it. And to get that comment, I have a criteria that I need to look at. Okay, so let's have a look at the function over here. So I'm going to just, let's do that over here. Go to the insert function and type in if, enter, select the top one, if function, say okay. Right, so now we don't have our ranges and we don't have our criteria. So this is where it gets slightly different. Now we have a logical test. Okay, so let's go have a look at the one that I had in here before. So I had a logical test that if it is greater than 14, it needs to bring up one of the two options over here. So let's go ahead and have a look at that. So equals my if function. All right, my logical test. So I'm going to say, go look at the marks, okay, for that row. And if it is greater than a certain amount, say fantastic. If it is under that, say good. So my logical test is, I'm going to go look at C4. Okay, I'm going to say C4 needs to be greater than 15. All right, I can make it greater than or and equal to or just greater than. If it is greater than, it's not going to include the 15 over there. What do I do if it's true? I can type in fantastic if I want to. But what if I want to change my referencing later on? Then I have to go back to all my formulas and I have to go and change them. It is better to use cell referencing. We'll click on fantastic. All right, so if it is greater than 15, it's going to say fantastic. If it is less than 15 or 15 and less, it's going to say good. And again, I'm going to use a cell reference instead of typing in good. And we have a look at the side over here. So it's false. It's telling me there immediately that this is not greater than 15. Even though it is 15, the 15 is not included. If I were to change my formula to say greater than and equal to, you'll see how it changes to true. Fantastic. All right, so let's leave it like that. Greater than and equal to 15. And if it's true, it's going to say fantastic. If it's false, it's going to say good. And my result is it's fantastic. And we select OK. Now, if I were to drag this down, again, I would get errors. Because my first one is correct, but my second one, it's already dropping down. While my third one is not referring to any of those comments over there. So I need to go back to my first one, and I need to make some changes over here and turn them into absolute cell references. So let's go back to the insert function, the true function. Let's turn that into an absolute cell reference because I always wanted to point to that. And for my false, let's make that an absolute cell reference because I always wanted to point to the good. The top section, the C5, I'm not going to make that as absolute cell reference because I want that to move down through all the points as I do my formulas and say, okay. So now if I drag this down now, why are you saying 0 to me over there? Let's just have a look over here. Why is this saying good? So just having a look over here quickly to see why it's doing this. And let's see why it's doing this. And let's go tab. Okay. Some other reason it's not picking up. Oh, okay. Sorry, my apologies. I had the wrong one over there. Let's go back up to this one and say insert. That's why it didn't work because I was on the wrong thing over there. All right, so let's go to the F4. Make that an absolute. F5. Make that an absolute. Tab. And you'll see that it says fantastic at the bottom there. Fantastic over there. So this little dialog box will actually help and show you whether your formula is right or not. And then say, okay. So if I go and I drag this down now I have fantastic, good, fantastic, fantastic, good, good, fantastic. All right. And if I were to change my wording to poor, for instance, and I hit enter, you'll see that it'll automatically update my formulas for me over there. All right. So let's go back to good. Good. And enter, and it automatically updates. So that's another reason why we make use of cell references. If something changes within that cell, the formula automatically gets updated. And you'll also notice that as you type in your formula, okay, within the dialog box, Excel will be creating it at the top over here for you as well. So you can see what it looks like. So that is your if function. So you have a logical test, you have a true statement, you have a false statement, and that is it. Moving on to the ifs function. Okay, enter true or false statement if more than one criteria are met. Okay, so I'll fix up that then just now. So I want to look at the marks. Okay, so I have my different marks over here with the grading. 80% or more A, 70% B, 60 C, 50 D. And then I want to look at the marks over here. So 42%, you should actually get something else. So let's, why are you, okay. All right then. So let's go and have a look at these over here. So let's start again. Go to the insert function. Go type in ifs if you don't have it already. Enter. Select the top one. Logical test number 1. Okay. So what do we want to do? We want to, let's just first have a look at this one. The example first that I've got over here. Come on. Example over there. Let's open that up. So we're going to duplicate this one now. We're going to go look at B4. We're going to say, is it greater than 80? If it is, I refer to G4. And you'll see that G4 is a absolute cell reference, because as we're moving down, we want it to always point to that. Otherwise, if not, look at logical test number 2. Still looking at B4. If it's greater than 70, then give it a B. If that's not right, we're going to still look at B5 and say that if it's greater than 60, give it a C. If that's still not right, we're going to again go look at B4 and see if it's greater than 50. If it is, look at G7, so give them a D. And lastly, if all of that is false, okay, so you're going to look at B4 one last time. If it is less than 50, give them a fail then. All right, so let's go and build this. And I don't know why you are giving me a C over there. Let me have a look at this. Let's correct this again. Okay, so let's go and put in now ifs. So select ifs and go with logical test number 1. So if B4 is greater than 80, then put in an A. And while we're there, let's just quickly make that an absolute cell reference while we're on that section over there, so we don't have to go back. There we go, absolute cell reference. Then move on to logical test number 2. Again, we're going to look at B4. Is it greater than 70? If so, give them a B. Let's make that an absolute cell reference. Again, look at B4. Is it greater than 60? If so, give him a C. Oh, come on. Why are you doing this? B4, give him a C. There we go. And an absolute cell reference. Otherwise, we're going to look at a D. So again, B4 greater than 50. If that's true, give him a D. Why do you keep doing this? There we go. Otherwise, B4 is less than 50. Then we're going to say fail. I'm going to type that in. But you could put fail at the bottom over there and refer to that as well if you want to. That'll make things easier for you, and you can just make that an absolute cell reference. And I forgot to make G7 an absolute. So let's do that quickly. And you can see my response at the bottom over there. Fail, fail. So we say, okay. Why are you giving me a 0? Let's see why it's giving me a 0 over here. So I've got a false for my A, false for my B, false for C, false for D, and a true for fail. Right. And let's see why it is giving me a 0 over there. There we go. Fail. There we go. That's better. All right. And now I can just go and fill these in. You'll see that I've got an A over 80%, a C for over 60, an A for over 80, a B for over 71, a D for over 50. I have another fail over here. So if I were to take this one and I were to make it, what have I got here? I've got A, B, C, D. Let's say I change this one to 79. Enter. Formula will automatically update to give me a B over there. All right. So enter a true or false statement if more than one criteria is met. So that is how you can have a look at the various criteria, or add in various criteria for one cell, and you can measure it against different ones over there. Just remember that if you're going to be moving down and using cell references for your criteria, to make them absolute cell references so that they work accordingly. All right. I hope this helps you. I hope this you have a better understanding of your SUMIF, SUMIFS, COUNTIF, COUNTIFS, if and ifs function.